Hey everyone, this is Brian Holmes with the Strategic Living Podcast and BrianHolmes.com. You're listening to my great friend Stephanie O'Brien, and you are about to be moved by purpose.
Once you decide that feelings are not bad, often people are taught that feelings are not good, anger is not good, that shame is not good. These are just feelings, and they're all valid. I never use the word negative emotion because they're just emotions, and some are more comfortable than others. And once you make the decision to learn what these are within you, then you're moving your life in a whole different direction.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
You're listening to the Moved by Purpose podcast. Hey, it is Stephanie O'Brien. Thank you for joining me today in this lovely winter month. Those of you might not be experiencing winter weather, but Michigan has finally gotten some Michigan weather. We've had like 40-degree winter, so I'm not really complaining that now it's like 16 degrees and snowing and icy, but hey, this was a long stretch of a mild winter. So I'm pretty darn happy and not complaining at all. Looking at the positive. Today's guest is Joan Stotkin, and she is over at prosperityplace.com, and she is a really fun guest to interview. Some of her strategies and ways of doing things are going to be different, so this interview and what Joan does may not be for everyone. I found that we were like-minded on most things. One of the things she talks about or that we discuss in the interview was very new to me and very different. I found it interesting and it made sense. She does ground a lot of her stuff in a lot of science. So hopefully you find this interview, if you are struggling with perpetual habits of debt or emotional burden, and you just keep finding yourself in a cycle. And if you're looking to increase or improve your emotional intelligence, this is what she recommends. Again, I've never heard it, and it's a little bit different than my approach, but it does make sense. Emotions need to be expressed, and if you're going to ignore them, they will come out and express themselves in ways you don't want them expressed. So, if your faith or belief or practice is different than this, take what you like and leave the rest. Because it's new, you don't have to get freaked out about it. Again, take what you like and leave the rest. And so here is more about Joan. For the past 30 years, she has been examining alternative ways of dealing with life on many different levels. Defining success as merely making a lot of money and having social or career status has never made sense to her. As a result, she's been looking for something deeper and more meaningful and learning to integrate what she discovers into her business and personal life. Prosperity Place is her humble contribution to those of you who, like herself, want to experience the more of life while creating satisfying and prosperous lives. So without any further delay, here is Joan. Welcome to the show, Joan. It is an honor to have you on today.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, I'm excited we got to connect. And we were talking a little bit before the official recording for the show. I know that we are like-minded individuals and think the same way and have similar passions, so I'm really excited to dive into this conversation a little bit further with you. And here's my favorite question. I love really getting to know you and allowing the audience to get to know you. Help us know the event in your life or the things that happened to you or reasons behind why you do what you do today.
Okay, I'll give you some highlights. You said that you and I are like-minded. When I was growing up, there were very few people who were like-minded with me. And it's just so wonderful that the new generations are getting hip to the kinds of things that I talk about. Because when I was talking about some of these things many years ago, it was like nothing. So here goes. I'll give you some highlights. I was sick for a long time. I was sick physically, emotionally, certainly financially. And in 1975, after I was told that I could never be healthy and I should just learn to live with all my disorders, I wound up giving everything I owned away and wandering for a number of years. I had started meditating in 1972. So I had started getting in touch with myself. I was actually started doing yoga in 1964. So I've always been into traveling in other dimensions, shall we say, which is how I get some of my offbeat ideas. And so I did that, and when I was starting to come back, I just got this message one day to go buy a pound of tumbled stones. And I did. I was staying with my parents at the time. And my mother used to buy these mineral specimens from a lapidary store. So I went there and I said, I need a pound of tumbled stones. I had no idea what I was talking about. And the guy said, what size? And my hand just popped up and I said, that size. And it was about a 1-inch diameter. And I wound up with this pound of stones. And to make a long story short, it grew into what became a huge business called Jones Crystals and Stones. I was the first one to sell crystals and minerals for healing and meditation nationwide. I had a line of stones called Jones Stones in 600 stores. And I wound up making a lot of money. My fourth year, I was bringing in today's money, $50,000 a month, which sounds fabulous, doesn't it? Except I had no idea how to manage cash flow and wound up going bankrupt because if I had $10,000 in the bank, I thought I had $10,000. Well, I didn't have $10,000 because I owed some. And my father died around the same time. And I was going to 12-step programs. I was going to Debtors Anonymous and Codependence Anonymous and learning how our emotions affect our life stories, how we create our life stories. And so when Jones Crystals closed, I went on another journey and tried a number of different businesses and then woke up one day and heard, you're moving to New Mexico. And I thought, what the heck would I want to do in New Mexico? And I was, the one time I had been here for 3 days, I was altitude sick the whole time, so it wasn't like I was looking forward to this. Well, I moved to Santa Fe, and 6 months after I got here, I wound up in the hospital for a month. I had no insurance. They had to take me because it's the only hospital in town. And that really changed my life. It fixed what had been wrong with my stomach for over 20 years. And slowly but surely, I came back to life. I wound up building a web development company because I had gotten online in 1995, which is, you know, once I got that message to move to New Mexico, I knew I had to find a way of making a living because people in Santa Fe don't have an easy time making a living. So I knew I had to have something. Once I found the internet, I knew that was it. And the first month that I made enough money to support myself, I moved here. And I came here with $200 and whatever fit in my car. And it's been an incredible adventure. And I've been online for 20 years and making my living online for 20 years. So that's pretty much what led to where I am today. And being online for 20 years, I mean, business on the internet has changed dramatically over the years. And I've just learned to go with the flow and change my business as the model online changes, which I think is really important.
So you said some really powerful things in that journey, and I love hearing stories like that. People that are willing to take risks and follow the leadings or guidance or promptings and to have faith that it will work out. And I think that you've touched on some really interesting things about the financial piece of business or just overall your life.
Yeah.
And I run into this a lot where I've seen people build really successful multi-million-dollar businesses and file bankruptcy. And then they do it again and again and again. And I'm like, you know, I found that so fascinating to see that there are people that have cycles of that. And those are like bigger numbers, but I see people that maybe even on a smaller scale seem to get money in their hands and then just end up without it in a very short amount of time. There's studies that show about the lottery winners that in 7 years end up right back in poverty, if not worse than they were before, because most lottery winners or players are people that typically live in very limited means. And that really fascinated me. In my own journey, too, financially, I noticed some odd behaviors with how I handled money and stuff. So it really propelled me or compelled me to, like, look into this. And so I'd like that you have that experience. What did you learn?
Oh, a lot.
A
lot. First of all, along the way, my 2 younger brothers both wound up being millionaires. And here I was wandering around with a backpack and nothing else. And so I asked the question. One brother was driving around in a Ferrari. The other one was selling millions of dollars to other companies. I mean, they were doing really well. So I asked the question, why? If we do create our reality, why have I chosen this one? And what is it going to take for me to be in a different position? And so over the years, what I've discovered is we have thoughts that lead to emotions, and the emotions inform our decisions, so that the emotions actually act as the bridge between our internal and external worlds, and they really are the creative force behind our life stories. So if you want to change the trajectory of your life, you have to change your emotions. And a lot of people don't realize that you can do that. Your emotional habits are developed very early in childhood, sometimes the first day you show up or even in the womb, because you learn your emotions from the people around you, and you develop, and a lot of it is genetic. I mean, it's a complex process, but once you're willing to deal with your emotions, to feel what you're feeling, and to understand what those feelings are, once you recognize them, you can use a number of techniques to release them and to replace them, to say, what would I rather feel? For example, you use the idea of up and down income, which is a very common story. I hear it over and over again. I make money and I have some put aside, and all of a sudden something happens and it's gone. I mean, there's a number of variations to how it disappears. Sometimes it's overspending, but what we have to look at is your self-concept. If you don't perceive yourself as a wealthy person, when you have the wealth, you're not going to be comfortable with it, and either you're going to keep trying to get more and more and more in order to make yourself comfortable because that's your fantasy, or you're going to let it go because it just doesn't seem like you. There's also a fantasy out there that money solves problems and makes you happy, and that is not true. I mean, I know a lot of millionaires who are not the happiest people in the world. So much of my work is around helping people understand how they're creating their life stories and how to change the endings to their stories. I came from a family where one of the spoken rules was Sotkins don't feel. So I was starting from place zero. When I got to Codependence Anonymous and people would clap when you told them how you felt, it was like, oh, there's a whole other world out there. And once I understood that, I said, okay, I'm going to learn about feelings. I'm going to find out why I was the only one in the family that cried all the time, and they kept telling me to stop crying. And I learned it. And I've become extremely high-level emotional intelligence. They now test those things. And I see that the emotions are the key to success, because it's your habitual emotions that inform your decision. And in my book, Build Your Money Muscles, I identify the 5 main feelings that people act out through their money and how to deal with them, how to recognize and release them and replace them. I don't use the recognize, release, and replace in my book because I didn't come up with that until a couple of years ago. But you can change your life by being aware of your emotions, because they are the notes that you speak, that you sing, that make you an individual. Your individual combination of emotions are what differentiate you from other people.
Emotional intelligence is something that can be changed and developed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had none, and now I'm really high level. So I could say with surety that it's true.
Yes. So where would you begin? You know, what would you recommend to the listener that's like, I really want to improve my emotional intelligence. I know that something's wrong. I want to be free from this cycle. I want to change my reality. But how do I even begin?
It's really quite simple.
Okay.
You take a situation that makes you uncomfortable. You know you're uncomfortable, right? I mean, like, you have bills to pay and you don't have enough money in the bank. That's going, you're very aware that you're in fear, right? So you close your eyes and you imagine that you're traveling into your body. You might want to pay attention to your neck, your abdomen, your shoulders, and just be aware of whether you feel contracted or expanded. Doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And then let's say you're really in fear, okay? So you close your eyes and you say, well, where am I feeling this? And some people will feel it in their chest. Some people will feel a real tightness in their abdomen. That's a very common place. So you put your hand over the area where you're feeling that, and you make the sound of the feeling, which is a way of expressing it, because feelings by nature want to be expressed. So let's say you've got your hand over your abdomen and you're feeling this tightness. This is not going to be easy to do at first because you've been afraid to get in touch with your emotions. So the sound may come out like something like, real little. And the idea is to make it a little longer, a little louder, and to let yourself to just express what's inside of you. And that's expressing your emotions. And you're not going to get the whole thing out right away. But the first time you do it, you're going to be surprised at how you feel afterwards. I use this technique anytime I have physical discomfort now. I don't have that very often, but I'll put my hand over the area that hurts. It's different if you've like broken a bone or something like that. But sometimes there's just these tight muscles and pain, and you put your hand over the area that hurts, and you make the sound of the feeling, and it kind of breaks up. It's pretty amazing how it works.
So I want to play around with this because, after the because I'm like, how do you put a sound to tightness?
Okay, well,
how do you envision that?
I just want to have a little addendum here. When I was doing this and I learned to make the sounds louder, I used what I called a yelling towel so that my neighbors wouldn't hear me. Or if you do this in the car, it's really good. So how do you make the sound of a feeling? Okay, so do you want to try that now?
Sure.
Okay.
We can.
Okay, so think of something that normally triggers you. It can be financial. It can be a person who really pushes your buttons. And close your eyes and just kind of feel where inside your body you're feeling a tightness. And tell me where that is.
Chest.
Chest. Okay. Put your hand over your chest.
Okay.
And make the sound of the feeling. Okay. It's very hard to do because you have.
I know. Oh my God.
Okay, so let me help you. Okay. So you're feeling this feeling in your chest. Pretty much feel what other people are feeling. So there's a combination of fear, and I'm getting a little frustration. A sound might be.
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay, can you relate to that? Okay.
I'll have to get better at it. But
okay, and actually, there are times when I do actually energy healing with people who are local in Santa Fe, and I can touch the body and feel the feeling and make the sound, and it goes away because I'm feeling their feelings. I'm not going to do it fully here now because I'd have to make some pretty loud noises, and this is getting a little weird. So I am a businesswoman, And if you'll try that at home, it's like whatever situation is pushing that button, say it out loud, because emotions, you have to look at what emotions are. They're not in your head. Emotions are these neuropeptides, these little chemical beings that attach themselves to receptors in your cells. And emotions by nature want to be expressed or need to be expressed. And so when you express the emotion, it detaches it from those receptors and passes out through your system. So if you can imagine, you've got all these molecules of frustration and anger and shame and deprivation and all these things floating around. And once you get in touch with the feelings and express them, then they leave your system, which leaves room for the joy and the bliss and the inspiration and everything else you'd rather be feeling.
Very cool. So this is a newer, just kind of making a sound with the emotion. I know a lot of people will say express your emotions, and I always interpreted that to be through words or articulation.
Right, but most people don't have a very good feeling vocabulary. I work with a lot of men, and I would never say to a guy, "What are you feeling?" It's like, other than anger, I mean, what are you feeling? And it's not a question I ask. I ask, do you feel contracted? Is it uncomfortable for you? Because people know when they're uncomfortable usually. Okay, so you don't need a feeling vocabulary to do this. So what I did when I was learning feelings is I made a list of feelings, because people are aware that there are feelings, and they know that there's anger and fear and betrayal and all these different things. And I would actually practice feeling them. What is compassion? What is empathy? What is the feeling of disappointment or dissatisfaction? Most people who I work with have some level of dissatisfaction. They wouldn't be calling me if they didn't want to make more money or make their lives work better, so they have dissatisfaction. And upon questioning, it's often easy to find out that they have a dissatisfaction habit, that nothing satisfies them. They've never been satisfied. So how can they learn what the feeling of satisfaction is? It's a different concept. You have to learn satisfaction in order to be able to feel it. So I have them become aware that this is their assignment, to begin practicing satisfaction. Are you satisfied by the sunshine, by the flowers that you see? Do you have a dog that satisfies you? I'm not into cats, so I wouldn't use that, but I use dogs as the example. What little thing satisfies you? And learn what has satisfied you in the past. Is there anything there that has satisfied you? I have a client who's very dissatisfied with his work situation and has been for a long time. He's felt trapped for a long time. But he's very satisfied with his home situation. So he has that to focus on and to ask himself, to close his eyes and ask himself what that feels like. And it's going to be different for everybody, although we all relate to the same feelings. And there are a lot of techniques like emotional freedom technique, EFT. I wrote the manual for one of the energy psychology techniques called Be Set Free Fast, which helps you change the programming of your subconscious. Once you decide that feelings are not bad, often people are taught that feelings are not good, anger is not good, that shame is not good. These are just feelings, and they're all valid. I never use the word negative emotion, because they're just emotions, and some are more comfortable than others. And once you make the decision to learn what these are within you, then you're moving your life in a whole different direction.
Very powerful.
It is, and I become it sort of pushes my button when I hear all the business advice that's given. Do this, and cash flow management, which is something I teach, and all the business advice. But if you don't pay attention to the person inside the business, then you're not getting to the core of what's going on.
I agree with that, because in my work, I started off working with people who just were really burned out in their careers, dissatisfied in their job, and they had a longing for meaning and purpose and wanting to have meaningful, fulfilling work. They wanted that quick solution because what their current situation was very painful. But it came down to, with almost every client, the core beliefs they had, like the habits they had, the mindsets that they had. You know, I just felt like until that was resolved, they weren't going to see lasting change.
And they start in early childhood. There's a wonderful book available now called Childhood Disrupted: How Your Biography Affects Your Biology by Jackson Nakazawa. And she talks about how adverse childhood experiences affect your life outcomes. And there's actually a study, the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experience Study. If you look up ACE study, you'll find it. And it's a 10-question thing. And if you had any kind of trauma as a child, if a parent left, divorce, alcoholism, and just your response to the world around you, it not only changes your biology, because it can cause physical problems, it actually can change you on a genetic level. I've gotten very into genomics and how these gene variations that are caused by stress affect our life and how they can be overcome with what's called epigenetics, which is usually lifestyle and dietary changes. And I recently had my genomic profile done. And if I hadn't been living the way I've been living, I've been off sugar for 42 years and carbohydrates, and I exercise and I get enough sleep and I do all the things you're supposed to do. And looking at my genomic test, if I hadn't done all those things, I probably would be dead by now. And whatever the childhood trauma was, some people are affected more than others, but you can take this test and see, and once you see it in black and white, it's like, oh, no wonder this is happening. And then you can make the decision to change. And what I have to stress with people all the time is that there is no quick and easy cure. You have to change the neural pathways in your brain. You have to change a lot of different habits. But if you're determined to do it, as I was, it can be done. Is it easy? No. Is it quick? No. But it lets you grow on such amazing levels. I mean, the fact that I haven't eaten sugar for 42 years has given me a level of discipline that I never would have gotten anyplace else. I'm sort of ADHD, and yet I have this discipline because of the way I've been eating.
That's amazing. In addition to increasing your emotional health, you know, how can you begin to change? You mentioned like you changed your genes a lot through diet and just whole overall lifestyle change.
You change the gene. Let me be specific. You change the gene expression. You don't change the gene.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Change the gene expression.
I like to be specific.
Yes. Okay. The mind is so powerful,
yes,
and you can program your mind to really produce amazing outcomes and results.
Yes.
You know, so do you have any suggested, in addition to, you know, expressing your emotions,
meditate,
how you can meditate? Okay.
Meditate. It's the best way to get in touch with yourself. It's the best way to slow down that mind. Also, to get in touch, just as you're getting in touch with your emotions, to get in touch with your thoughts. I think the beliefs are the hardest thing to get to, because at any one moment, right at this moment, you and I each have at least 1,000 beliefs that are in effect. So how do you pick out the one that's causing whatever problem is being caused? So the thoughts. And when you can love, accept, acknowledge, and appreciate yourself, your life is going to change. You're going to have that mirrored back to you from the world. You're going to get paid. Because in order for you to get paid, people have to say, I like you. I appreciate you. I acknowledge your wonderfulness. And so the way to make that happen is to do that to yourself. Most people have this negative self-talk that goes on in their head. I know I had it in spades. Every once in a while, I'll take a look at what I'm thinking, and I'm a pretty happy camper. You know, it's like there's pretty much nothing that can push me off center. If I do get something that pushes a button, then I can get myself out of it in minutes. And I've come to accept whatever's going on in my life. If I don't like what's going on in my life, I can change it. I know I can. I've done it so many times. And so it's getting that self-talk. I'll say to people, why do you think you're an under-earner? And they'll say, well, I have a low self-image. And to me, low self-image has become an excuse. If you have a low self-image, what do you need to do to change it? We have more knowledge on the planet now about how to create a healthy mindset than we've ever had before. I was talking like this 30, 40 years ago, and people, just went, oh, sure,
And there's a lot of science now that backs this up.
Absolutely.
It's not just that,
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a thing on PBS about the brain. There was a series on the brain. And in it, this is a neuro something or other, a neuroscientist. And he was talking about how every decision has an emotion behind it. And so you can't deny your emotions. You have emotions, whether you're willing to look at them or not. You have thoughts. And it's mindset. I love that so many people are using the word mindset now. I'm not a voice in the wilderness anymore. But what I want to stand for, I mean, I'm older than a lot of people who are listening. I'm in my mid-70s. I was a very unhealthy person. I'm very healthy now. I used to walk around as I was trying to walk because I had real energy problems. I would say to myself 100 times a day at least, I'm perfectly healthy and can do anything I want. I'm perfectly healthy and can do anything I want. I read books and I did whatever I had to do to make that happen. You just have to make the decision. If you want to be a millionaire, then you have to ask why. Do I really want to do that? And if you want to be a millionaire, then you better learn how to take care of money. Otherwise, it's going to come in and go out. So you just have to decide what you want and then say, how do I have to get there? And if you meditate on a daily basis, which I've been doing since 1972, then you'll get the instructions. You'll either get them directly, or you'll suddenly meet someone who has the answer for you, or you'll find someone who wants to mentor you. I mean, it's amazing how it works if you let it. And if you let go of that internal tightness and talking to yourself like you're a bad boy or a bad girl, you're a good girl. One of my favorite ways of talking to myself, I did this for years. I would do it out loud. I would say, Joni's a good girl and can have whatever she wants. And I would clap my hands because I love applause. I would do this out loud. And to this day, when I do something well, I say to myself, Joni's a good girl and can have whatever she wants.
I love it. And you touched on, do you feel like there's more power in saying it out loud than reading it quietly to yourself?
Yes. As a matter of fact, if you have those thoughts going around and around in your mind, the ones that drive you nuts, if you say them out loud, it's a way of getting them out of your system.
Yep.
Yeah.
The moment I, express fear, even if I do write it down, I mean, writing down is a way to just get it out, but even if I start vocalizing, I'm a very external processor.
Yeah.
So I can be in havoc, and just not even really know what the heck is going on, but the moment I just start talking, it's so funny. I'm like, okay, I solved it, thank you. The person just listened, and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better.
Right. And I'm a talker, obviously. Yeah. And I have this dog that likes to listen. So I tell her, although sometimes when I'm walking her, I find myself talking out loud. I guess at my age you're allowed to do that because you're allowed to be a little weird when you get to be my age. And I honestly don't care what other people think now. And that's a very freeing way to live. I am Joan Sotkin. There's the only one Joan Sotkin in the entire world. I'm the only one with that name. And so I get to be whoever I want to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. Love it. I've really enjoyed this interview. The way to express your emotions, that's a new one. Honestly, I've never encountered or heard that before. I've heard a lot about mindsets and, the affirmations and the self-talk and speaking out loud what you want. I hear a lot about emotional IQ, and I'm like, but how does someone get there?
Okay. And there's a number of different things you can do, but it's basically going inside, recognizing what you're feeling, and expressing the feeling. That's pretty much it.
Very cool. Thank you again. So how can people connect with you? We have
you can call. Sorry, I did not plug that.
That's all right.
Okay. That was very funny.
Yeah.
The best way is to go to prosperityplace.com.
Okay. Awesome. And you have your own show there.
Yes, I have a podcast. I interview one person a week, and I talk by myself once a week. And my theme for the year is the courage to express yourself. Last year it was the courage to be you, and now it's about different ways of expressing yourself, mostly online, of course, because that's the way I do it. But it's letting yourself come out and be who you are.
Awesome. Thank you again. And this is where, do you have anything on the like financial literacy? And
Well, my book, Build Your Money Muscles.
Oh, there we go. Okay, let me add that to the resources.
That's on the site. It's on Amazon.com. It comes in Kindle and hard copy. It's really the core. I wrote it 10 years ago, but it's just catching on, because although I've had a pretty loyal following for a long time, and it covers both how to manage your money and how to develop the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that can lead to success.
Awesome. Thank you again, Joan. It's been an honor to get to know you. I've had fun. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and I love how, some people are just kind of ahead of their time, and I'm glad that you get to live long enough to see that you actually get to see that we're catching up.
Well, I always say I'm not old. I just got here early.
Yeah. Thanks again, Joan.
You're welcome. I see that the emotions are the key to success because it's your habitual emotions that inform your decision. You can change your life by being aware of your emotions because they are the notes that you speak, that you sing, that make you an individual. Your individual combination of emotions are what differentiate you from other people.
And there you have it. That was Joan Sotkin. If you found the piece where I was attempting to express the tension or tightness in my chest as I thought of something that made me uncomfortable, it's kind of funny. I didn't do such a good job with that. But, you be open-minded and try it out. And if not, oh well. I'm very big on expressing with words, but not all of the time can we articulate or know what to express. So as long as you're giving your emotions some outlet in a healthy way, in a controlled, healthy way, I think that it is of great benefit to you to really be aware of what you're feeling and how you're behaving and how you're making decisions. And, as she said, and I really do agree, decisions really do. Every decision has an emotion behind it. So being emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent and emotionally healthy is so beneficial. And I would recommend checking out the book EQ, or Emotional Intelligence, and, maybe start there. Start with that and take that course and follow those things. But yeah, emotional well-being and wholeness is really, really critical to your overall quality of life and success. And then to add to that, I would say your spiritual health is, at least for me, my spiritual well-being is priority. So anyway, if you like this episode, please let me know. If you have any other guests or questions, please feel free to write to me and let me know of an idea you have, a question you have. I can answer it on one of my podcasts, blog posts, videos. I'm happy to hear from you. And if you're not on the mailing list, make sure you get your Freedom from Fear Manifesto. It's a free ebook for those who sign up to get my emails, and you will have direct exclusive offers and access to me. I'm offering a pilot course for my passion project because that's going to be revamped into a home learning course where you can learn at your own pace. If you're interested in that, make sure that you let me know if you want to know more. I'm offering this 12-week group coaching program for only $197, and it's normally $149 a month because I'm really looking for committed members that will give me feedback and really helped me improve the course to make it best. This course will sell most likely for $9.97, so it's a great deal and a great opportunity to get very affordable help. If you have an idea, want to start a business, not sure what that is, what that looks like, what your first steps are, how to know if it's profitable or viable, make sure you check that out and plug in to these amazing, amazing group of people that are really making things happen, pursuing their dreams, and making a difference in the world. And never settle. Just don't settle. Don't give in to fear. Realize you're valuable. You're here for a reason. And go out and make it happen. And I'll talk to all of you next week.